Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build. It is time for a home that was inspired by the whole eco-living theme. As you guys know, The Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle is going to be released next month. I still think that it should be called eco-living. This would have been perfect. However, it's going to be called Eco Lifestyle. I'm excited for the pack, and so many builders have been sharing builds that are inspired by the pack, even though the pack isn't out yet. And at first I wanted to avoid the whole topic because I have this weird thing. Whenever a pack is announced, I feel so inspired to build a house in the style, but at the same time I don't want to use up all my ideas. But in this case I just couldn't help it. I had to create a house that is roughly inspired by the whole eco-living idea. As you've already seen in the beginning, I included some solar panels, and the whole build itself is like super green. There are many planting pots, both on the outside and inside of the home. I built this beautiful home in Granite Falls. It's surrounded by nature. Of course you could place it on any 50 by 50 lot, but I decided to build it here because it's just perfect for the whole theme. It's such a beautiful world. It's surrounded by nature. And here you can see how I created the whole window facade. What I did was I used a base game debug object and the tool mod to create the illusion of windows that have this typical A-frame shape, windows that would fit into a roof. We don't have that. We only have rectangular and square windows. We don't have any windows that would fit into a roof. So I just created the illusion of these windows. And the tool mod, I've said this before, but I always include this small disclaimer. The tool mod does not affect the gallery upload, so you can simply grab this build from the gallery. You don't need the mod and you still have this kind of unique window facade. It was a bit tedious to rotate all these columns, so it's just like a base game debug object. It's just a column, and I rotated it and then I placed it this way. And this alone isn't that tedious, but what actually was tedious is when they overlap, they are flickering, and this is horrible, and many people don't enjoy flickering at all. Actually, for many people it's like a absolute no-go, and many people don't want to play in houses that have any flickering issues. So what I did was I made sure that no columns overlap in these areas, and I used the tool mod to lower them into the ground so they are all perfectly stacked on top of each other. And this took a while, but I think it's worth it because yeah, when it's flickering it's not as beautiful. I mean, some minor flickering is not a big problem in my opinion. It also depends on the color. When you overlap objects that are white or black, most of the time it's not as visible, but as soon as an object has more texture or a different color, it can be super visible and super annoying. So yeah, I took the time to make sure that it just looks good. And you guys know that I'm obsessed with all the debug objects, and once again, if you have no idea, you can access them by activating two cheats, the bb.show live added objects cheat and the bb.show hidden objects cheat. And I just love debug objects, but in this case you may ask yourself why using a debug column instead of a regular column. Well, you can't rotate regular columns with the tool mod, so it's not possible. We can rotate a lot of objects with this amazing mod, but not every single object can be rotated. So I had to use just a debug column because it does not act like a regular column. It's just a regular object, just like any other object. So it's perfect for this. I wish we could rotate regular columns though, because I mean there's so many different beautiful columns, so many swatches, so you are kind of limited when you can just use columns that you find in the debug menu. But I'm still very happy that I stumbled upon this one. And also the whole color scheme, I really made the decision for this color scheme based on this debug column. I was just looking for an object that I could use for this because this was my main idea for this build. I wanted to create these window facades. I wanted this to be the eye-catching feature of this build. And then I just looked through the whole debug menu. Basically, I stumbled upon this column, and then I just decided to pick all the other colors accordingly. So this is why I was going for this color scheme. The wallpaper that I used on the exterior is from Island Living, and I was just looking for a brown tone that just fits to the column, so it all makes sense. If if it would have been possible, if there would have been a white swatch for this column, I would have probably used a white swatch and white roof trims and all that. I just love this. It really stands out in my opinion. I don't know, it's just beautiful. But yeah, I just had to work with this column, and in hindsight it was probably really good because I mean it's like the whole eco theme, and I don't know, it just looks really natural. This brown wooden swatch is probably not the worst that happened to this build. And let's talk about the roofs. If you want to create similar roofs, then you just have to use 2 half-gabled roofs, and you can simply merge them together. And what I did was I pulled out the eaves. And if you only want to expand one side of the eave, just hold down Shift on your keyboard, and then you can make one eave longer, and then you can create a roof like this. And I've also stumbled upon something that I had to share on Twitter immediately when it happened to me. So I know a lot of tricks and shortcuts I've been building for years, and I just know my way around this game usually. But there's something that has been annoying me so much when it comes to roofs. So when you want to change the height of a roof, it just jumps up and down, like you can't really find the perfect spot if you want to change the height, especially when you're working with 2 roofs that you want to connect, just like I've done here. You just have to find that perfect spot so they merge into one roof and they are like seamless at the top. And I've been struggling with this since forever. Okay, then I was working on these roofs, and suddenly I could adjust the height smoothly and it just wouldn't jump up and down. I was like, what happened? I was like shocked. And I noticed that I accidentally just pressed a random key on my keyboard, but I had no idea which one. So I was just trying which key would be, Control Shift, and it turned out to be Alt. When you press the Alt key while changing the height of your roof, you can adjust the height smoothly, and this has been a game changer for me. I shared it on Twitter. Some builders knew about it, but many were like totally shocked, just as shocked as I was, and I just had to mention it here in case you don't follow me on Twitter. You can also do that if you want to. It's also KateEmerald on Twitter. The handle is @KateEmerald. So I always share some thoughts, builds, ideas on Twitter as well. I'm actually super active over there, so if you want to, you can give me a follow over there. So I just had to mention it in this video as well. It was just so shocking for me. Also, another tip, in case you have no idea, I knew about this one, but I just have to mention it because it's like the last 2 days have been like it has been all about roofing tricks for me. So when you select a roof and then you press Shift and C, you can access the advanced roof controls. And you know, you have this small sphere that you can use to change the curve of your roof. When you press Shift and C, you will have some additional ones, and you can create some wavy roofs and stuff, and it's glorious. And now that I'm talking about roof tricks, I just had to mention this once again. I just have to get this bit of information out there because it seems to be such a hidden trick. Like some of these tricks are like super hidden in the game kind of, and it's like only word of mouth, I feel like. I don't know. So I just wanted to mention this just in case you didn't know. And while I was rambling about roofs, I built this thing here, and you may be shocked what this is, and I was just as shocked when I was stumbling upon this. So this is a sized up school project. I found this in the debug menu, of course. It's part of Parenthood, and I just sized it up, and I wanted to use it to create some type of bridge. Eventually, I didn't use it to create a proper bridge. It's just like some type of, I don't know what this even is, but your Sims can hang out on top of this. It's fully functional. It does not block your Sims path. I placed a table and some chairs on top, and down below I added some plants. And I wanted to use a lot of succulents for this, and we don't have a lot of succulents in this game, but when you go to the sanctuary, you can just find the plants for just the indoor plants. Then you will find some succulents, and I just used them. I used the tool mod to lower them into the ground, ground, so I was able to just hide the planting pot down below. And I created a little succulent flower bed inside this bridge thing. I think it's even called bridge something. So your Sims can create these school projects, like when you own Parenthood, your kids go to school and they bring home some school projects and they have to finish them in time and all that. I don't even remember. And this is one of those school projects, a finished one. So it's super teeny tiny and I size it up a lot. And sometimes this doesn't really work. Like for some objects, like the helicopter, when you size it up, there's like this toy helicopter. And when you size it up, it looks horrible. Like the texture, it just looks bad, to be honest. But here for this object, even though it was super tiny and I sized it up a lot, it worked out perfectly fine. And even though I didn't create a proper bridge using the school project, I created a curvy bridge using an living debug object, as you can see here. So I wanted to include a lot of curvy shapes, and the whole front yard is just plants, and this bridge just different decorations. The whole area is just decoration basically, so it's not really super functional, it's just super beautiful. I wanted to create something that's really unique for the whole eco theme. I still didn't want to build something that's like super extremely modern though. I have some ideas for builds like that, but here it's like a bit different, I guess. Like not super hyper modern eco living, but more something in between. I created a similar bridge for one of my recent island living builds, and here's how I did that. I built a room at the bottom, then I placed a piece of floor on top and I deleted the room at the bottom. This way you can change the height of your floor piece without a foundation underneath, because if you would just place a foundation on the ground and then you click on the arrows to increase its height, you would just increase the height of the foundation, and this way you have a floating piece of floor and you can use it to build bridges and all kinds of different things. So I built my floor piece and then I placed this island living debug object on top of it, and again it does not block your Sims path, just like the bridge school project, so it's fully functional. And then you can just arrange your object in a curved shape or however you like. Just make sure to press Alt and your left mouse button and move your mouse to rotate objects freely. And when you do that, you can just arrange it in a curvy shape, for example, just like I've done here. And then you have to get rid of all the excess floor tiles, basically. So there's a custom room tool that is just perfect to get rid of sections of floor pieces, basically. And this is what I did here. So I deleted as much as possible. So I only have a bit of floor in the center, just enough to just connect everything. So it's fully functional. Of course, you don't want to have a gap in between your bridge. And the floor is kind of hidden underneath this debug object, so you have to make sure that you don't delete too much and always make sure that it's functional and works. And yeah, I made sure that it works. You already saw that in the beginning, and I was just like really pleased with how this turned out. And then I started to decorate more and more, and I arranged a couple of debug rocks and just different plants in a array, so it just goes so well together with the bridge that I created. So I have like all these round shapes, but in a kind of different way than what I would do usually, I guess, and I think it turned out super beautiful. Also, I have to give you a bit of advice about the whole bridge school project thing, because I encountered a couple of problems and I want to let you know what happened. So I built a foundation inside the project and the path of my Sims was blocked. So actually I added a piece of floor at the bottom, and what I did was I used the same method that I used for the bridge, just as I've just explained. I built a room, a floor piece on top, I got rid of the room at the bottom, and this way I just had a floating piece of floor. And I used this method to just add a floor piece to the very top where I placed my table and the chairs, and this was fully functional. I checked this right away, no problem. And then at the very bottom where you just saw the round section, I just built a regular piece of foundation, including a foundation, a floor piece with a foundation just in this area, and I wanted to have some planting pots and I wanted to place some stairs. However, this area was just completely blocked. My Sim couldn't access it, so I had to delete it and then I changed it and I just added an identical foundation piece or floor piece, but I used the same method that I used for the bridge or for both bridges. I once again built a room. I placed a floor piece on top and got rid of the room, and this way I had my floating floor piece but just in a round shape, and this way it was working. So this is kind of key in this case, and probably for many other debug objects and stuff. If you just add a regular foundation piece at the bottom, it may not work. So this is my word of advice. If you want to have some fun with this debug object, if you want to play around with it, make sure to use this method so it's actually functional, so you can just add some stuff down below. And I don't know, I think it's a really fun object. Many debug objects are, and this is just a little workaround, and I had to change it just when I was done. When I finished the whole build, I noticed this. I had checked the bridge at the very top, but I forgot to check it at the bottom, so I changed this after I was done. So I wanted to include this in the voiceover so you guys know what's going on and why it does look slightly different in the end. And yeah, just so you know. And I also added some solar panels, as I said. These are part of Get Famous. You can find them by using the bb.show live edit objects sheet. And I used the true mod to change the angle, but you don't have to. You can just place them on a flat roof, for example. They are beautiful. In the pack, we are going to have some proper solar panels, but for now, this is good. And here I'm working on a custom fish tank. I didn't just want to place a normal fish tank, I wanted to build my own. So I built a room, I added some windows, and then I used some of the fish tanks that are part of the game. What you do is you use a sim to stack the fish tank with fish, and then you size down your fish tank. So then you have a super tiny fish tank at the very bottom, and your fish are just floating around. And then you can just place it anywhere, and you can just hide the fish tank at the bottom by using some rocks. On this case, I used the true mod to lower it into the ground, but you can be really creative with this. And because of the whole eco-living thing, I wanted to include nature on the interior. I wanted to have this fish tank. I built this kind of flower bed and some of these trees. I also included a greenhouse. There's a gym, so for anyone who's like, I don't know, super conscious about their lifestyle and the environment, just anything. I wanted to include a home gym, just like this whole lifestyle, like really healthy and just everything. I just figured it would be fun to include this. And this is the kitchen, and I wanted to have the fish tank in between the dining area and the kitchen area, so it's like some type of really fancy room divider. And for the kitchen, I used some perfect patio stuff counters, and I wanted to be creative with the kitchen. So what I did was, or what I'm about to do is, I used some paintings that I placed behind the counters, so like some type of backsplash, so it's like really unique and really colorful. And I just wanted to have a really unique interior. I used the same painting in another area. I'm about to place it, and I placed some shelves in front of these paintings, so there's some space where you could place something. And this white panel is from Dine Out. You can also use it as some type of backsplash. I like it. I'm all about these really simple, almost geometrical objects like the pristine pedestal or the spade stone you get no slab. And this wall panel is just perfect because it's just so simple. You can use it for all kinds of different things. You could size it up, you could rotate it using tool. It's like really plain and simple, and these objects usually give you many new options, and I just like to use it for kitchens. And here, as you can see, I have like a bit of the column that I mentioned earlier that I used to create the window facade. It's like kind of glitching through the wall, and I just embraced it, and I just used it to decorate the wall, and I just placed these paintings in between the column, and it looks, I don't know, it just looks as if it's supposed to be this way. It doesn't look weird. It doesn't look as if anything is glitching into my house. And here you can see that we have this horizontal column in between the paintings. And I just decorated these areas using lots of plants because of the whole eco theme. Of course, this is not a proper eco living house. I mean, it's about being self-sustainable and just all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about this in detail once the pack is out or once we have more information, but it's a beautiful theme. And this house is just a house. We don't have these features here. I mean, with island living, they introduce some features but it's like not really a proper eco-living pack. It was just a feature in a pack. This is also what some people have been criticizing, that we got bits and bobs of this theme here and there. In Island Living, for example, Strangerville had this whole idea of just changing a world, rescuing it, and there are some similarities, but I want to tell you something, and this is just so great about this pack. You can decide if you want to just save the world for your Sims, if you want to make a change, if you want to embrace the eco-living lifestyle, and if you want to clean up everything. But you could also say, no, I don't want that, and you can have some really kind of dystopian, dirty world full of smog. And we don't have this like in The Sims. In one of the stuff packs vote, we had the option for new deaths and just, I don't know, like more aspects that would be dangerous for our Sims, because everything is just so perfect in The Sims. And now we just have the option to just have a kind of a dystopian world. It's not perfect. There's pollution. It's dirty. And you can just do all kinds of different things. Also, I don't know if you know, but there's a Merkland challenge out there. And a dirty, polluted world is just perfect for different challenges. And this just adds so much to the game. It's just like a way for the devs to give us something that's not perfect. And I like that. So maybe this is also a way to think of this, because I know that many people have been focusing on the whole eco-living aspect, but this is also really interesting. You don't have to clean up your world, and you can also just disable it in the game settings if you don't want to deal with any of this. If you don't want to live in a polluted world, but you also don't want to clean up everything, so you can just turn it off in the game settings if you would like to, so you don't have this aspect of the pack, but you still have all the beautiful objects. And personally, I'm really hoping for some beautiful objects. Like from what I've seen, amazing. And also it's an expansion pack, and there's just so much stuff in an expansion pack. Usually I'm just hyped for this. I just want some new stuff to build with. And this is one of the bedrooms. Some of the bedrooms are smaller. I also didn't include all of them into this video, but some of them are smaller. But then there's also some type of master bedroom that is definitely bigger. There's some kids' rooms, and many of them are en suites, and there's just enough space for a decent sized Sim family, I'd say. So some of the bedrooms are on the smaller side, but I think it's like super difficult. I always want to include enough bedrooms, so I don't have like 2 or 3 huge bedrooms. This way you can let a big Sim family move in, and this is why I just try to squeeze more bedrooms into this build. And this is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I included some screenshots so you can check out the build here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a perfect week. And as always, you can find this build in the gallery. My ID is KateEmerald, and you can also find all the information down below in the description box. And I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye.